Starting for my videos. All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, and this is just, I think, an event that many people have been waiting for. People have been waiting to for this team up between me and this gentleman who I'm about to introduce you to tonight. Most of you probably already know him. In a very short period of time, he's become almost legendary. I almost think of him as kind of like the headless horseman from Sleepy Hollow, in the sense that people don't know him very well. They whisper about him. They're afraid of him. Most people have never seen him, but they know he exists and they're scared of him. But some of you know him as Richard C. Meyer. Some of you know him as Diversity in Comics. Most of you know him as Zach. Ladies and gentlemen, the first time on Comic Artist Pro Secrets, meet Diversity in Comics.
Hey, what's up? So this is actually my first time listening to a live stream because all the other guests, I like avoided it, so it didn't make it awkward for them. But I actually kind of hope they show up. That would be fun.
What other guests? What do you mean?
Dan Slott, Mark Waid, Vox Day. Well, yeah. So I didn't want to like intimidate people. So when they're doing one with you, I just steer clear.
Well, that's a fun thing. I think I almost sent the link to this to Mark Waid. I almost wanted to invite him, but frankly, Mark Waid has ignored my last 4 or 5 messages to him since our chat, our live chat. So I take the hint. He's still very upset with the way that went, even though I think it went great. Did you hear any of it?
I heard he was punching Nazis and he wasn't taking calls right now.
Oh, well, okay. So he's busy. That's fine. I
Yeah.
won't take it personally then. How you doing? How you feeling? How's that cough?
It's the cough is okay. So I'm doing the video in a different position than I usually do. The cough has to do with me sitting in my normal position. I'm fine right now.
Mm.
It's just a weird thing where I sit and I tuck my head down. When I did a 3-hour live stream with Aiden Paladin and Captain Cummings, like in the summertime, and at the end they go, "You didn't cough once." I go, "Yeah, because I'm sitting in a different position than I usually am."
But you cough when you walk, don't you, or don't you?
I think I might, but it's again, I'm tucking my chin down to like look at the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, let's find out a little bit about you, because you are a man of mystery. Some photos of your face have leaked through various disreputable sources. I say all of those photos are bullshit. None, excuse my language, none of them are real. I'm prepared to debunk them the same way I have seen scientists debunk photos of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. I think that nobody knows what you look like. And I think, is that fair to say?
No. The pictures released are accurate. They tend to be old.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Where are you from?
I'm from all over. I'm a military brat, so all over the Midwest.
So where did you get the idea to join the military? Is that a family thing? Did your father, was he?
Yeah, it's a my grandpa was in World War II on the American side. I need to clarify that. Um,
Excellent.
he actually fought in. Everyone always talks about punch Nazi, punch Nazi. World War II was very big. He was in Northern Africa, and then he fought in Italy, or since he was a Jersey guy, he called it Italy. He fought like he was anti-aircraft artillery. So like
Yeah.
the guns, they shoot it and explodes, and you see that like puff up in the air. And then my dad was career Air Force, and then I was active Marines, National Guard, active Army, National Guard. And the thing that made me enlist was 25% GI Joe comics, 25% Team 7 comics, 25% my family history, and probably 25% Black Hawk Down, the book.
So 75% pop culture.
Yeah.
And let's talk about comics for a little bit, because obviously comic books are deep in your heart. And I think that's what many people find interesting about you, and why people have kind of taken you into their hearts, is that you have had comic books around you, and I don't think anybody, even I think even your biggest enemies will have to concede that you are someone who loves comics and advocates for comics, and purchases comics, lots of them. So when did you find comics? How old were you?
So it's a kind of a trick question. Like, in the 70s and 80s, it was a classic thing that the comics were at the 7-Eleven. And if you were going on a drive to grandma's house, your parents would buy you a couple, hand it to you in the back seat. So I had that phase, and then I got out of it. And then I got into the G.I. Joe comics when they started, when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8. But then in the 6th grade, this girl named Heidi roasted me for reading comics. So I got all peer pressured and I quit.
In the 6th grade?
And then, like in the 10th or 11th grade, I was in an art class. It was actually kind of like had that, like, kind of like my emo phase. I didn't really have anything I was doing. I didn't have any hobbies. And then an art teacher said, like, "Oh, you kind of draw comic book style." And I was like, "Whoa." And so I went to the comics rack and I saw Todd McFarlane in it. Comics, I had quit in '86 and I came back like '88 or '89.
Oh
And
yeah,
those 2 years, comics changed a freaking lot.
they
So I
sure
was
did.
all into all the new artists. I was seeing like Jim Lee on like his first, like on Alpha Flight, and all these like all the books they started on. So I came in at this really good time where everything was like exploding.
Yeah, I mean, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade for me. Those 4 years were the years that comics were my heart. That's when they really sunk in, and we're probably about the same age. Yeah, about 88, 89, when Todd McFarlane kind of blew up. Uh, he looked like nothing else on the stands. I mean, for me, it was Todd. I know you're probably more of a Jim Lee guy, Mark Silvestri. Those guys didn't appeal to me as much as Todd McFarlane did.
Oh no,
And
I was all about Todd McFarlane. I was like obsessed with his stuff. I went back and got his Incredible Hulk. I got that one issue of G.I. Joe. I got All Star
yeah,
Comics or whatever. I was tracking down like the Invasion, like every single thing about him. One of the things I liked about him that I really don't see almost anyone do now, is he wasn't afraid of like anything. He made a million mistakes, but he would just draw something else. Draw a bad hand. I don't know. Just draw like a cool tank behind it. Loved it.
he used to say, "When in doubt, black it out," and that's
Yeah.
advice that I've actually that stayed with me as an artist. Shadow everything out if you're not sure about it. Yeah, I mean, when Todd McFarlane came on the scene, things changed. And just for reference, I mean, right before Todd McFarlane, Spider-Man was being drawn very stiffly. I hate to say, I mean, drawn well,
Yeah.
drawn in the sort of John Romita Sr. style by a fellow named Ron Frenz.
Hmm.
Ron Frenz is a terrific artist, but let me tell you something. He made Spider-Man look like a plank of wood compared to Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
McFarlane blew
God.
everyone out of the water. So I mean, for me, it was, at that moment, everything was changing, X-Men and everything. So after, what made you get past this phase where a girl was dissing you in the 6th grade and you realized you were still kind of a kid and still allowed to read comics? It was that stuff you couldn't resist?
Oh well, yeah. It was just like a weird time where I wasn't into anything. I went through like a year where I had no hobbies or interests. I just come and like flop on the couch and watch TV. So it was really cool to have a new interest, but it was also just like it was just fun. Like there's a whole routine to comics. It's not just like so on Wednesdays, or at least when I started, it was like Thursdays was new comic book day. So you go on Thursday, you get your comics. I had to ride my bike. It was like half a day. It was like 2 towns away. So you go there, you bag them, you ride them back, you put them in your little box, you arrange them, and it was a whole like thing. It was like almost like a part-time job. So I really enjoyed that whole aspect of collecting back issues. One of my favorite things about comics is you find something, and if it's not the first of that character, you go backwards. And you're like, I was like, oh, where'd Venom come from? I want to find out where Venom comes from. Where's what's Secret Wars? And then you keep going backwards. So it's kind of like a fun in that aspect.
Where did you get money to buy comics at that age?
I didn't have a lot. I think I mowed my lawn and got like $5, and that was like my budget per week. But $5 in 1989 would get you what, 2 or 3 comics back and
It
bags.
might take 75 cents or $1. It would get you a lot of comics.
Yeah, that was all I needed.
Yeah, I had a paper route. I had a bunch of paper routes. Delivering papers like the free papers that nobody wanted. Did you ever do that?
I had a paper route briefly, but that was like a lot younger, like fifth grade. That.
Chinchillas almost escaped this cage. Excuse me for a minute. Anyway, so yeah, so your teenage years, did you continue reading comics like while you started dating? I mean, when did you get your first girlfriend?
So, well, I wasn't expecting that one.
I know.
So I was a late bloomer in that aspect. I made up for it, as everyone knows, from all my child support. But I was a pretty shy guy back then, so it was just all comics for a while.
Yeah. All right. So it was comics all through your teens, and
Yeah.
then at some point you decided to enlist, and that was, how old were you when you enlisted?
Oh, I was older. I was 26.
Did you go to college?
Yeah, I wasted my 20s. Like I did nothing except for like watch Conan O'Brien, drink soda, and read comics for like 7 years.
Wow, it's crazy. And
Yeah,
were you like, were you creating stuff at this point? I mean, because I mean, the thing about you that's interesting is you have ideas for comic books that seem to stretch back quite a ways, right? I mean, how far back does Jawbreakers go?
oh, Jawbreakers only goes back to like 2014. So back then, I was actually trying to break into comics as like Marvel or an Image guy. So I was always into like Wildstorm, sending out like a submission packet like every single week, sending out to Marvel. So I kind of did that during the mid 90s, and then I kind of met some people who were working in the industry, and I saw that what their lives were like, and it like killed my goal of having.
Well, who did you meet?
It was a guy named Shaun Murray, uh, and he was probably the bitterest, angriest, saddest guy I ever met in my life. And I was like, I don't want this. I don't want his life.
We have a similar kind of encounter with this gentleman. I don't remember all the details of this, but like we kind of met in a sort of way through Shaun Murray, I think. Let's sort this out. We have to backtrack and work out how this happened. Okay, so Shaun Murray contacted me, or I contacted him. I must have met him over the internet, and he wanted to pitch. He had an editor named Tim Toohey at Marvel on the line. This must have been 1997. Is any of this sounding familiar?
Yeah, very familiar.
Okay. So Tim Toohey and Shaun Murray get a hold of me and say, hey, do you want to pitch Beta Ray Bill, a Beta Ray Bill series, and Power Pack with Shaun Murray? And I said, well, I don't really care about Beta Ray Bill, but I love Power Pack, and yeah, I would. I'll draw both of those things up. And I think Shaun Murray wrote me a couple pages to draw, and I drew them like sample pages. And then also I redesigned the Power Pack kids for them. And this is really strange because it's one of these kind of false starts that happened in my career that I kind of forgot about. But how did you guys connect to that? How did you connect to that?
I think it was like on the Wildstorm message board. And the funny thing is that he ended up actually doing Power Pack, I think, as a 4-issue miniseries with a different artist. And he ended up putting my, at the time, girlfriend, later first wife, later first divorce, and as a character in that issue.
All right. So, I mean, for some reason I couldn't do it. So I guess, yeah, it got shipped off to someone else. And then Shaun Murray and I kind of kept in touch a little bit after that. And I think he was looking for work. And I was working on Impulse. And I had an idea for an Impulse story. And I said, why don't you write up this idea for an Impulse issue? And that was Impulse number 55. And it was a really strange idea. And he did that with me, and he collected a paycheck, and I never heard from him again until like much, much later. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago, might have been last year, when I sent him a message I saw him somewhere. He posted something really, really kind of peculiar and cruel on Facebook, and I dropped him a line and said, "Hey, Shaun, like, what's up?" And he was like, he called me a mother effer and blocked me. He said, "I don't know why I didn't block you a long time ago," and blocked me. That was it. That was my experience with Shaun Murray. And I think you had something kind of similar happen.
Well, mine was a little weird. So I remember him telling me all about that, and I think I saw the scripts. And then we did a little, like a short in a anthology called No Justice, No Peace. But then he had this idea for, it was basically Deep Space Nine, except for it was exactly like Deep Space Nine. Um, but then I kind of took it and ran with it, and so we both started coming up with ideas, and it actually got a lot cooler. And then, he had the connections. I just had a lot of free time. And so finally, it came time to pitch it. And then he sent me the pitch. I think he probably had to mail it to me. And it said Oasis by Shaun Murray and Company. And I said, where's my name on here? So the deal is he came up with the basic idea about a space station where a lot of people meet, and I think he said it transforms, and I kind of came up with the characters and some other mythology for it. And then he goes, "Oh, you're and Company." So that was a big killer of my dreams, because I'd heard about stuff like that. You hear little rumors at conventions and in like the trade magazines at the time, but I was just not even in this industry, just meeting people, and I saw that happen. I'm like, okay, I just popped smoke out of there. I enlisted a couple years later.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine having this little kind of acorn of a idea, or like having your toe in the door and getting help to get there from a lot of people, and then just absorbing all of the credit for it yourself. Like you are the band leader, and they are just your band. That's pretty remarkable. And I mean that would kind of turn me off too. I would think kind of everybody in comics is kind of a douche. Maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you enlisted and you decided to go overseas and risk your life for your country. Thanks,
Yeah,
Shaun.
well, I mainly just wanted to fly around in a helicopter and shoot machine guns. That was my goal. And I got into the Marines, and I got put in a helo company, infantry company, but we traveled by helicopter, at least in training we did. And I, excuse me, I got made a machine gunner. So I was very, very happy with how that turned out.
James Dietrich, thank you for the super chat. He asks, do you guys ever feel like you've regressed to junior high when dealing with some of the more recent comics, quote unquote, pros? They're clicky.
Oh yeah, it's Mean Girls. I bring this up all the time. Like, I was like, I work in a normal industry, and unfortunately for you, Ethan, like I interact with like normal adults all the time, and like almost the best behavior of comic book pros would be considered terrible, a fireable offense. Like it's endless. Like you're endlessly 14, at least from kind of the outside looking in.
Yeah. I from my from my point of view, I don't really talk to anyone. I don't like my friends are normal people. Like I don't really. I have maybe a dozen comic book friends that I consider to be good people, and I'm friends with them. But like as a whole, like the idea of hanging out with other comic book people seems dangerous to me in the sense that I don't know. Here's the thing. When I first started in the industry, people warned me that a lot of creative people behaved like putting together a comic book was like that old fable about stone soup, where it's like, hey,
Oh yeah.
I want to make a soup, and I have this stone. So what can you pitch in? And sort of you go around and tell everybody your stone of an idea, and then everyone pitches in, and before you know it, you've got a story that you single-handedly take credit for, which is not unlike the Shaun Murray incident that you discussed. Now, I've had, that happen to me, I think early in my career, quite a few times where I feel like, ideas kind of get jacked from you if you, if you just want to talk to other creative people about things that are going on in your brain. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel the kind of Mean Girls vibe. I know it's out there, but I just kind of it doesn't affect me. I kind of have my own sort of thing going on here. Comics is just one thing that I do. It's not everything that I do. But yeah, I mean, most of what your channel. Oh, Derek the Braga Papan, thank you for that big super chat. I appreciate it. I'll whack these up with you, Rich. I mean, this is a big deal here. Everyone's excited about this.
All right.
Yeah. So uh, uh, yeah. So anyway, at this point, you're back from. Were you creating ideas in your head while you were overseas? I mean, surely being away from your brief interaction with the industry, or you were far away and you had a lot of time to spend in your head. Were you creating ideas then?
No, not really. I kind of dropped out of comics for like the whole time I was in the Marines. I mean, I would read a couple of runs. I remember liking Brian Michael Bendis on Daredevil, but I was kind of busy. I was married. I had my first kid. I was deployed. Like the Marines is like not 9 to 5. Like these were like a lot of 20-hour days. So I'd come home and it'd just be like eat some pizza and fall asleep in my uniform type of thing.
Huh. Got 2 super chats. Unranked Chevron. How did you two come to know each other before you were both on YouTube? I'll answer that. Social media, Facebook, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Number one Marmaduke fan. Thank you for the huge super chat. That's awesome. Would you ever consider drawing each other's favorite characters for charity? EVS draws Jawbreakers. Zach draws EVS's favorite hero. Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, Master Chudy, thank you for this super chat. 2 of my favorite guys who got me into the comic review game. Thank you for this stream. You're doing great work. DNC, we almost crossed paths in Charlottesville. You got in the shop as I left.
Seriously?
Isn't that interesting?
That's crazy. I remember, so the day of Charlottesville when they had the riots, it was crazy hot. And I went in there and it was empty. The proprietor was kind of like a nice hipster type of guy. And he looked worried. He was checking out everyone who comes into his shop. And so I was able to get, no, I wasn't able to get Mr. Miracle. So I got Black Panther, a reprint of the first issue. And then I got the Captain America with him and Falcon on it. My goal was to go out and troll the KKK by handing them a Black Panther comic. I thought that'd be funny. And 2 Antifa girls came in there, and they were really cute, actually, both of them. And then the guy was offering them, I think, brownies or something like that. He was offering people brownies. So.
Well, how did you know they were cute? Weren't they wearing masks over their faces?
No, they didn't have their masks. They just had all their like black gear and their backpacks and their probably a gas mask in there, but their face was showing. They were real cute.
Oh, how about that? Antifa kids are usually pretty young. They're college students,
Yeah,
right? I mean, for the most part. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, new Jabil listener. Sorry about that. DNC treats minorities as people instead of props. How do you like that?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Diversity, inclusion, compassion, kindness in comics. Hi, Cecil. Thank you for the super chat. Says Ferengi Zach is freaking out about missing these super chats. No, I'm sharing them with him, so don't worry. He's not freaking out.
Actually, you should keep them. I owe you a wedding present.
Oh, this is the other thing. Yeah, you were supposed to come to my wedding and you got sick, so that was very sad.
It was ridiculous because I literally get sick like once every 4 years. But I was walking around Manhattan without covering my face, trying to be tougher than the winter cold, and I got zapped.
Oh, that sucks. We had a good time, but everyone did miss you. Matthew Hepp, thank you for the super chat. OOC. What does OOC mean? Have you?
Like, away from
do you know? I'm talking over you. Have you guys noticed any new talent rising up, or just someone who has just seemed like they're on their A game recently?
Hell yeah. There's this guy named John Malin, Jonmalin. He just did like a couple of issues of Cable, and his stuff was great. I was so excited by his stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually like his stuff a lot too, an awful lot. Um, Let me see, who am I looking at right now? Who do I? Well, I'll tell you one guy that's kind of new, and he's already been on my channel, and I think he is one of the best artists in the world right now. Is Jason Fabok, and I saw him coming up. I mean, I saw him from a mile away, and thought that he was going to be the next big thing. And sure enough, he is the next big thing. So if you guys haven't listened to my interview with Jason Fabok, it is available on my channel now, and I think you guys will enjoy it. A couple more super chats. Craig Lighton, thanks EVS and thanks DNC for your service. You're welcome. Adam Adair, thank you for the super chat. You guys entertain me daily while I work. Thank you very much. You're welcome too. So at some point, Richard, I kind of lost touch with you. You disappeared for maybe a half a year or so. And I discovered Captain Cummings. I stumbled across one of his videos that was about me on YouTube. And I watched it, and I thought it was very funny, and he was defending me against these lunatics who were trying to destroy my career, and I really appreciated it. So I reached out to him, and I said, you know what, like, this is the thing about being under attack by the internet. When you find somebody who's brave enough to stand up and buck the tide, you have to give them a high five, because it's so difficult to just be that brave guy who just says, when even now, like with all this Me Too stuff on Twitter, these are people that I don't know and I've never met, but boy, it's like you feel like some instinct that you want to join in and kick them for no reason. I mean, nothing's going to change. It's just kind of what we call a virtue signal. So when someone's brave enough to just stand up and say, I disagree, and I'm on this guy's side, you appreciate it. So I talked to him, and I looked at more of his videos, and I said, hey, these are kind of funny. And he said, if you think I'm funny, you should check out this guy, Diversity in Comics. And I did, and for some reason, and I don't know how I knew it was you, but I did. And I said, is this Richard? And I said, yeah, I know him. And I started listening to you more. What made you start Diversity in Comics?
Oh, okay. So I started on Jawbreakers like 2015. I can do like 22 pages of art a year. So I would do it after work, and I would listen to a bunch of different YouTubers like Comic Book Girl 19 and H3H3 and Kevin Smith. So I kind of got into YouTube, but not that much. Like I just watched like 3 or 4 channels. And then I found Captain Cummings. I think I saw him more on Twitter. He was, he likes to stir it up. So me and him became buddies, and we have a lot of similar background, Midwest and military. So I was watching his videos like religiously. Like as soon as they went up, I would watch them, and then I kind of wanted to do it. And then I work contracts, so they'll be for a set time, and then they'll end, and then you go find your next contract. So I just finished a contract, and I'm like, probably gonna have a couple weeks until I start my next one. I'll just start doing my videos. My goal was to maybe make like enough money to like offset one of my child support payments. So that was my big goal. And then I was just I got into it. So he gave me my first boost, got me from like 50 followers to like a couple hundred. And then things have just been going good ever since then. I really miss him. He's deployed right now. And I feel like he's like the real like heart of like whatever you call our side of YouTube is.
What do you think you guys are? What would you call yourselves?
They say Comicsgate, but I remember Gamergate, and it always confused me because I couldn't remember if you said someone was a Gamergater. I could never remember what side that was. So it always confused.
Yeah, I'm still unclear about that. I meant to ask Vox Day, like, well, who's a comics or a Gamergater, and who's the feminine? Like, I assume Gamergaters are the anti, like, you don't want to say anti-feminist, but the side that was fighting against people like Anita Sarkeesian. I don't. I
So,
like
but
I.
then they talk about it kind of elliptically. The thing, there's been a lot of like ideas of like kind of like communally developed through the community, and I just say we're the customers. You can differentiate us from the other people because we actually go into the store and buy comics.
Couple more super chats here. The doctor says, "Thank you, doctor." The doctor. I hope you guys hit 1,000 viewers for this stream. Well, we're up to 908 now, so that's pretty
Seriously?
impressive. Yeah,
That's a good stream. That's a really good one. Wow.
we should do this. We should do this more often. Ramo, thank you for the super chat. You guys have gotten me deeper into comics than I ever thought I would. Going every Wednesday to the local comic shop, supporting them has been so much fun. This community is great as well. Can't thank you guys enough. What do you think of that?
That's a big thing for this year. Now, obviously, I'm in that unique position because the channel subsidizes me to buy more stuff. But we're getting a lot of the things that we asked for. So now it's time to like actually support it. That was the big deal with SJWs. They were given all the books that they asked for and they didn't buy them. Now we're getting like all these like cool action, women looking like women and focus on action and heroism. We're getting that good stuff. So we gotta buy the comics. That's
Yeah, that's what I'm using my channel to do. Watching your videos early on, I realized quite a few things about myself. I realized that I was not treating my fans like customers, and I was treating them like they were just people that I was meeting, and many of them annoyed me because they would disagree with me on Facebook, and I realized that this was not, hey, this isn't okay, but I was seeing everybody do it. Everybody was talking politics very loudly and asserting themselves, and it was part of a fight or a game that I felt like I was engaged in with other people. And I realized that, first of all, if I have 10,000 followers on my 2 Facebook channels, they're not there because of my sparkling personality and because of how interesting I am. They're there because I draw Green Lantern for DC Comics.
Yep.
And so they don't want to hear me talk about my politics. They want to hear me talk about Green Lantern. And at some point, if I wanted to make my own little channel where I was a little bit more anonymous, I could say whatever I wanted to say. But I was speaking as a professional for DC Comics and hurting my business, because this is a business. And I got all that from your channel, and I really, really appreciated it, Richard. It was a brand new way of thinking for me, even though it seems so obvious a lesson, but it was a lesson I needed to learn. And that's why I started my channel, to communicate with fans better. But also, while I'm doing it, I try to assert, and I know that you do too. You try to remind these people who are watching you. You, as a comic book fan, have a responsibility to your community, and your community is your local comic book store. You, as your energy, your resources, your money needs to go. You need to make a weekly trip, if possible, to your comic book store, support them, so that in a larger sense, in a macro sense, you are helping to maintain this business, this industry that we all love so much. So when I hear, like that super chat say, "Hey, you guys got me going back to my local comic shop," exactly right. That is the whole purpose of, I think, where you and I have things in common with our YouTube channels, getting people back to comic shops again, and supporting those retailers. Space Reptile, thank you for the super chat. Here's some Latinum EVC, not for the Ferengi. I think you mean.
Oh, by the way, I finally figured out what Latinum is. I was getting confused. I thought Latinum was just gold, like space gold. Latinum is a liquid that the replicators cannot replicate, encased in gold. So the gold is just basically a container for it.
So you can't counterfeit it.
Exactly. That's why it's valuable.
Anderson Paladin, thank you for the super chat. Diversity in Comics should try reading older The Shadow comics, like In the Coils of Leviathan or even Hitler's Astrologer. Pulp Shadow is much better than SJW Shadow.
I read the Kyle Baker one from like 1987 or whatever. I like that. That was fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I love those pulpy heroes. I really, I think DC at one point had them all, or they were talking about getting them all.
Yeah.
And there was this thing about the Lone Ranger was actually Green Hornet's grandfather. And I love stuff like that. I mean, I've had this theory for a long time that like Little Orphan Annie is actually Batman's grandmother. I would, you want to hear? Well, think about it. Okay, so she's around in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
She's an orphan. She's a poor kid, and she ends up, being adopted by Daddy Warbucks, and that is where the Wayne fortune comes from, because she ends up marrying another guy who was in Scott Snyder's Batman Court of the Owls. You meet Bruce Wayne's grandfather, and he's still alive. I think. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, that guy married Little Orphan Annie when she became old enough to marry, and then they had Bruce's parents who were killed, and then Bruce. But anyway, so it just makes sense that generationally, that would be really really cool. And look, they're both orphans. So I think it would be a great story if like Bruce found out that his grandmother was still alive but dying and went to go see her, and she also has blank white eyes. Anyway, it just the idea of bringing like those old comic strippy things together with like current modern stuff just seems like really fun to me. So her name would be Annie Warbucks. What do you think? Stupid or cool?
I think it's kind
of Joyful Slave, thank you for the child support money there, but
child support.
He sent over $5 for child support.
Oh, thanks.
Another super chat from Jim Healis. DNC got me back into comics last year. My pool list is now over $150 per month.
Whoa.
Good. Awesome. Plus, I'm publishing my own comic this spring called Blue Mamba. Very exciting. Everyone look for Blue Mamba. John, we got super chats galore lined up. John Dillard, thank you. Split these $2, chumps. Haha. Thank you. We will. Matt, thank you for the super chat. Austin is looking forward to having you back. Zach.
Yeah, I'm heading back to that area fairly soon.
Awesome. So, at some point, as diversity in comics, what was your initial mission statement about diversity from diversity in comics? Were you actually worried about the SJW infestation when you first started, or did you arrive at that later?
Oh, hell yeah. So I've been like kind of like a social media, I don't know, gadfly or whatever for a good 8 years. So I've been seeing this stuff develop going way back, like message boards and stuff like that, like 8-10 years ago. So I've seen this kind of like a thing where they slowly over 10 years chased away almost all of the normal customers. I mean, so I was very much into that last year was a very crucial year, that this is a year where things were going to break. I talked to retailers, and as bad as the end of year projections were for sales, they say it's so much worse. You don't understand. These people limp to the end of 2017. There's going to be a ton more closed because when you're a retailer, you just take out more credit or whatever. But I definitely saw it as something that was about to basically be completely toxic, to be effectively dead. I saw a couple of stores close in the Bay Area because of what I called the wall of diversity, unsold diversity books that were just killing the small businesses and killing the thing. So I thought I'd start roasting them, kind of like a fun, tongue-in-cheek way, kind of showing their humorlessness by having them freak out over, what are mainly just jokes. Some of them are about to cross the bow, but a lot of them are jokes.
And you just that at some point you just what was the first book that you think that you roasted that was an SJW comic? You remember?
I've done like 700 videos. I'm like Stan Lee when he asks you like, how'd you create Hawkeye? And he has no memory of it. He didn't remember when he created Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I remember things catching my attention early on. I remember Captain Marvel was really, really starting to become extremely masculinized, like noticeably every month, more and more masculine. I'm like, what's going on? And the funny thing is, like, Captain Marvel, those are my most popular videos. Carol Danvers, like, people just kind of like primally are disturbed by this. You know, when you're literally born, you're like, that's literally the first thing. What's my mom and what's my dad? What's my brother and what's my sister? And they're just mixing it up into this weird monster body, and it's just like, no, everyone's rejecting it. No.
That is peculiar. I've watched a few of your videos where you point out that like her jaw is getting more square,
No,
and
every single month.
yeah, and the shape of her breasts are becoming more like pecs, but like one single pec, like because I work in comics, and I have some kind of sense of what might be going on. I mean, there is, in the 90s when I first started, I mean, people were over sexualizing female characters. I mean, you meant to do it, you were supposed to do it. People applauded you when you had characters these women stick their rear ends out, and when their cleavage was just hanging out. That was part of the job. And then things kind of started to change. I think I first noticed things really starting to change in a kind of social justice sort of way when I was at Marvel drawing X-Men, and when I was told to redraw an entire panel featuring Logan on a motorcycle lighting up a cigarette. And this was something that Grant Morrison specifically asked me to do. And it looked really cool. The lighting was great. The lighter, he was in the rain and the dark, and then just the lighting of his cigarette lighter lighting up his face on his motorcycle. Super cool panel. And they told me to redraw it so that he was just sitting on his motorcycle, not doing anything. So it looked like the cover to Purple Rain. And I just said, why? And they said, well, we can't have Wolverine smoking anymore. It sets a bad example for kids. And I thought that was super weird because, and you can argue, but with editors, but they're just going to kind of go, well, if they agree with you, they're not going to tell you, and there's nothing they can do about it anyway because these orders come down from on high. So, but basically, I just said, look, this is a guy who goes out and slaughters people with his claws. He kills people. Yeah. So that's not a bad example. I mean, I'm coming from DC where something like that is like verboten. That's a no-no. You don't have characters acting that way. But at Marvel, things are a little bit different. And I just said that's so strange. Plus, he has a healing factor, and so everyone knows cigarettes don't hurt him. So it didn't matter. He was still making cigarettes look cool. Therefore, it had to stop. And then things kind of started to change where female characters were kind of starting to wear pants, starting to zip up their tops, things like that. And that made sense to me. But then when you started pointing out the weird things that are going on with the way artists are drawing women's breasts lately, it blew my mind.
Oh yeah, they had a Marvel Legacy or Marvel Generations with Captain Marvel, and it was not even a woman with no breast tissue. It was literally a man's, because a man, his torso kind of like hinges. The hips are lower, and it was literally everything was a man, every single part. And it was just like, why do this is being done on purpose? And I think it's a thing where every artist kind of sees the direction, so they're like, well, I'm going to be the one who gives her absolutely no breasts at all. That'll be really woke.
I mean, I wonder if they have conversations like that. It
I
seems like
don't
they
think so.
would.
I think people just kind of pick up because when CB Cebulski got announced, and by the way, I saw on Twitter he's just now moving from China, so he's been in China like the last 2 months. I think he might have flown in to like sign the paperwork, but people on Twitter started acting better just when CB Cebulski was announced. You don't have to say, "Hey, stop being stupid." Like, people pick up the command environment. So if artist sees that Captain Marvel has gotten more manly over the last 6 issues, they're just going to continue the trend.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do if I took over that book. I mean, I would look at the artists who came before me, and I would try to just add a little bit of my own mix to it. But when I took over Impulse for Umberto Ramos, that's how to draw Impulse, with huge feet and big hair and a skinny little body. So I mean, that's kind of what artists do. Hang on, let me catch up with super chats here because they're piling up.
Okay.
Wastel, will DNC review the Vox Day comic? Thank you for the super chat.
Yes, I want to review the one with the Confederate girl, whatever one that one is. That one that Ethan did, the like detective, that looked painful. I would not even do that for a lot of money. I'd have
That
to
was
be.
a tough read.
What's up?
That
Oh
was a
yeah,
very tough
how
read.
do you describe it. You even skipped like 10 pages ahead. You go, okay, 10 pages of literally the same thing, and now this is the wrap up.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so Alt Hero is going to be interesting. I might actually review that one too, even though I said I wouldn't. I'm dying of curiosity. I'm against the book. I'm against the whole idea behind it, but I'm still gonna. Damn it, it's like he's P.T. Barnum. I'm still going to look at it and have a say about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll definitely roast it. I mean, the whole thing, and it seems like we kind of had the very similar thing, is that when we're saying like, this real far left extremist socialist stuff, and we say we don't want that, we're not saying we want to counter it with like alt right stuff. We just want heroes fighting villains and people to kind of look like their own gender. So it's not really balancing out because it's not extreme left versus extreme right. It's extremes of anyone against normal people that just want entertainment.
Most people don't care about politics.
Oh
You
yeah.
realize that, right? I mean, most people don't care. Factory Dave, thank you for the super chat. DNC's crusade to repel SJW comics got me interested in comics after many years away. He also got me into EVS, and I picked up a ton of your back issue trades this year. Thanks, guys. Great. Ryan Long, thank you for the super chat. I happen to be gay. Never thought I'd be afraid of discrimination from the left, but I am now. SJWs police minorities the most, threaten, dehumanize us. Thanks for treating me like a human being, Zach.
Yeah, that's a real big one. So I mean, I grew up in Nebraska and it was just all white people. And if anyone was gay, they'd never admitted it. But I've kind of been around a lot of places, so I've kind of gotten a broad history of knowing a lot of people. And then the creepy thing I noticed, like in the last couple of years, is that people would weaponize minorities. They would weaponize people who were, not white, and it would became this club. The thing is that club is like a living person. So you're like hitting me, calling me a bigot, but you just picked up, the black guy who just wants to read Daredevil, and you're using him like an object, and people pick up on that. It's people don't like that stuff, and it's very apparent. So one of the greatest things is like he's got these SJWs. They're like, oh, all your followers are alt-right KKK, and it's like it's literally like black people, gay people, trans people, a lot of women. It's everyone, because everyone wants like basic kind of like Star Wars, Indiana Jones level action adventure heroism.
I think that's true. Hans Angel Romero, thank you for the super chat. More child support money, senpais. By the way, aren't you afraid CB Sobolski will turn out to be a Disney mind-slaved SJW?
I don't
No.
know. I've seen him. He's got this little subtle way about him, and I've actually heard that he's kind of like he's not like a hard ass, but he's the adult in the room. He was his old deal like 10 years ago is he was the guy who would when the artist was late all the time, he'd kind of let you know what's up. So I've seen him put a little shots across the bow. I've also seen him act right. Like he just posts about he's fat, so he posts about food, and he posts about, hey, we got a new comic. Just basic stuff. So that's a command environment that he's established before he even set foot on the ground.
Mr. X, thank you for the super chat. Gamer Gators are the ones that not only opposed SJW insanity, so the Gamer Gators apparently are the ones that would be on your side, but showed they can be driven back. It brings a smile to my face seeing the comic world stand up to bullies too. Keep up the good work, Mr. X. We couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, the thing is like obviously a lot of people can kind of like malign me, but I always say like don't listen to me. Don't listen to anything I say. Just look at the comments, and you'll see the people saying, what they want to. There's no like secret messages. Like consumers and fans aren't like talking in like code. They'll literally say, "Hey, bring back this. Stop doing that. Start doing that." It's real obvious like roadmap to follow.
Bradley 316, thank you for the super chat. Big super chat. Finally made it to a live stream. Now I get a chance to help out. I don't get to participate in live streams too often because of my job. Thanks EVS, DNC, and Captain Cummings for getting me back into comics. Love you all. That's great. Thank you, Bradley. Yeah, I mean, this is the refrain that I hear over and over again, ever since I got on YouTube and kind of made myself available to my fans and tried to interact with them and entertain them in a different and brand new way. This is much more personal than Facebook or Twitter. They've seen the inside of my house, my fans, and they've seen your shoes, haven't they?
Yeah, they've seen my shoes, they've seen my lap, they've seen my radiator, they saw my dashboard, a lot of stuff.
Hey, we just hit 1,000 viewers.
That's the biggest one I've seen from any of us.
All right, guys. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Chance, thank you for the super chat. He just points out that we did hit 1,000. The doctor, thank you for the super chat. Congrats for breaking 1,000 viewers on the stream. Who knew? I mean, who knew there would be this many people who, were interested in this conversation? I mean, it seems to be kind of obvious. There are a lot of fans of comics who are perplexed by a few kind of phenomenon within comics, and I hope, and I believe, and I know that you do too, Zach. I'm gonna call you Zach. I like it. That fans are just sitting there waiting. I mean, they're waiting to come back. They're waiting to see the things that we saw in 1988, aren't they?
Yeah, I always talk about this. I'm not a sports guy, but I use sports analogies. You got the on-deck circle. You got the guy who's about to go, stand over home plate, and he's just waiting. And I was like, I can see the amount of people watching my videos and watching other people. The biggest one is you got to look at Comicstorian and Comics Explained. These guys have 1 million subs or more, and every single video they do does 80,000. And you can't even say that 80,000 is all of the comics audience waiting to come back. If you could get average sales of 80,000, we'd be back into, basically the late 90s.
That would be amazing. That'd be absolutely amazing. McKinney, 90, thank you for the super chat. Zach, I was in New York in early December and I went to Midtown Comics in Times Square on a Saturday. I wish I could have went there a few hours earlier because I could have ran into you. Great stream.
Yeah, I always get a little nervous when I go to them. I kind of feel like all eyes are on me sometimes. And I think I saw a couple of people from Marvel. I get a little stink eye from people at some of the local comic shops, but then nothing ever bad has happened.
So, I mean, people don't come up to you and say, hey, they just got, isn't that interesting? Like, nobody's ever come up to you and said, hey, I know who you are and I disagree with what you're saying and what you're doing.
Just at the New York Comic Con, I had a couple people recognize me who like the show, and there was actually a couple of people I really respect a lot who didn't like it, but they just wanted to have like a normal human conversation. I really appreciated that.
Volpine Eldrick, thank you for the super chat. Alt hero saving comics is like communist Russia saving Poland from fascist Germany. That's so true. Den Gigantsky, thank you for the super chat. Would you guys debate Anita or Lindsay Ellis?
Who?
I think he means Arnita Sarkeesian, who I've seen a few videos from. I don't know who Lindsay Ellis is. Would you debate Anita Sarkeesian?
Oh yeah, I used to kind of be obsessed with her. I semi-followed Gamergate because I could just tell it was going to happen to comics next. And so actually, it's actually helped because Gamergate really saved comics because we got to see the roadmap and the things where like, they're going to say you're the KKK. They're going to say you're this. They're going to say you're that. So just be ready for it. Yeah, I'm pretty well versed in Anita Sarkeesian, who I consider to be a flat out con artist and basic modern day witch.
Her name sounds like a monster from Star Wars.
She's
That's the only thing I know.
she's like
Um,
she's bad news.
and she plucks her eyebrows too much, but that's, Jeff Myers, thank you for the super chat. Right now, Super Sons is pretty much the most fun I'm having reading comics. I love metal. I love Mr. Miracle and Doomsday Clock. Super Sons is pure joy. Thanks for the recommendation, Dre. I think he calls you Dre.
Dre's a new in joke from the channel.
You want to explain that for people?
Yeah, so I was reading The Falcon, which was pretty bad. And at one point, the Falcon and his kind of silly Captain America ripoff sidekick, they say, "Hey, is that Dre?" And one of them says, "Yep." And there is this tiny pin dot in the background that nobody could ever recognize. So it became this like bit where anytime there's like a really teeny tiny person in the background, you say, "Is that Dre?"
Who was Dre? Did they ever? It would have been great if they never explained it. It's
Dre
like,
was like a gang leader who was being, I think he was being inhabited by Blackheart, which is like an old Daredevil villain.
See that now I'm intrigued. I'm gonna go read that Falcon book, and that's sometimes all you have to do is talk about a comic book to get someone interested in it. So anyway, moving on here, I just I have to say, over some time, over a period of time, people started to take notice of you. I was starting to hear people grumble about you within the industry. And I can't remember what started it. I can't remember what video was kind of the thing that set people off. Do you remember anything like that? Do you remember a point where you started to get kind of negative vibes from some people in the industry?
I do remember it, but I don't remember it being a specific video or even a set of videos. What it was is it's when I hit about 30,000. And my theory is 30,000 is the average good selling comic in the industry. And I think there was something about that that got them, and they're like, "Oh man, he's got as many followers as, a book that would never ever get canceled." So they got a little scared. And that's when they started coming up with these weird plots to like get me jumped and kicked out of things, which just got me up, even higher.
What came first? Was it the milkshake? Let's talk about the milkshake incident, because I really think
I've been
that
some
is
stuff, yeah.
the milkshake incident is the crux of everything that went on. And to be honest with you, I don't understand what the hell happened. I woke up and was just like, milkshakes, what is going on? What was the milkshake incident from your perspective?
So the milkshake incident was, I think, a manufactured incident. I think, like I said, this happened like April of last year, and we're just right now finding out how much the bottom dropped out of the industry. But obviously, the people who are seeing the real sales figures, the real shipping numbers, they knew early on. Honestly, I think it was completely engineered to basically use women as shields, put out a dopey picture, knowing that 4 out of 2,000 people would say some slightly salty comments, and then make it hashtag sexism, hashtag whatever. It was basically a hashtag generator to save a failing company. The Milkshake Girls are a bunch of assistant editors, and now I think a lot of them are editors, who are like kind of all miraculously hired within a few months of each other, in what appears to be a very blatant use of hiring for surface qualities, or I guess you're a woman below your surface. Basically hired on ovaries and not on merit or talent or potential.
This is what you believe. You don't know that to be the case. That's just your suspicion.
That's my theory.
There's silence.
Well, that was
okay.
Mark Waid tried to trip me up. He's like, "Is that a fact?" I go, "Well, no, it's not a fact. It's just what I think." He's like, "Aha!" He's very dramatic. So
Yeah.
that was the tactic he used with me.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to there. Here's the thing, though. I don't understand. Like, if I were trying to get some social media attention with me as a victim, I don't understand how taking a milkshake photograph is going to accomplish that. I mean, that is what ended up happening, because from the photograph, I guess Heather Antos received what she said were threatening, or I guess what did she say they were? They were threatening messages. They were harassment. And then that's what set everything off. She said I took a picture with a milkshake, and then I woke up and I was inundated with these messages of harassment. I don't know how you plan something like that. I don't know why that would be the thing that you do. What do you think? I mean, I heard a few theories of people who said, yeah, this was definitely a conspiracy. Like Marvel planned this, and it just seems so odd to me. I don't buy into that. I don't necessarily think that's the case. Um, am I way off base?
Well, I mean, when you want to say a plan like they went into a boardroom and they planned it, no, I don't think anyone planned it. But I think people knew some things, knowing that you're late for work, so you come in and you make sure your hair's disheveled and oh, the rain and the train and this type of thing. Uh, they knew their jobs were in trouble. They knew they were about 2 years in an assistant editor, and they knew their boss was about to be fired. They knew things were going to business, so uh, they had to somehow get sympathy. My daughter, at a very young age, she would do this thing where she would overplay emotions. I'm sad, and then she would get something, and then she would really overplay being sad. And then one time I go, "You're not getting this because you're sad." And then, like on a dime, she said, "I'm happy." She was just trying something new. Like, what thing can I do to get the result I want? The result they wanted was to keep their jobs and basically make themselves firing proof. So generating what I believe to be a completely fake harassment campaign. The death threats have never been shown. They're not even described with any detail. The supposed line is that every single person who got them, every single one asked that they not be shared or described in any detail. This is what Mark Waid is claiming. That sounds to me like an outright lie. I think they got a couple of salty comments, and they're trying to stir this up for some sympathy.
Yeah, I have to say I've received death threats, and I just started just showing them. I feel no compulsion at all. I feel no compunction to preserve the anonymity of people who are sending me violent, ugly messages because of my politics.
Yeah.
There's no reason to protect those people. I think they should be exposed, and the phenomenon, the actual, the fact of it should be given light. Like, these are the kind of messages that I am receiving because of who I am. What do you think of that? And
Yeah, like if you got something, show it, and if you're not going to show it, then drop it. I mean, you can't play it both ways. And then it turns out that one of the death threats was somebody like typing "Go die in a fire." That's just like a generic insult.
yeah, everyone says that to me. So from this, what did you say? How did you participate?
My participation was in a response to a response. So nothing the original poster would have even said. I put fake geek girls.
So you were saying they weren't real, like, comic book fans? That's what you meant?
Yeah, if you follow their social media before you get blocked, you're not going to see a kind of a history of actually being into superhero comics. You do see usually an interest in manga or anime, but in American superhero comics, not really at all.
And that's where they work.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. I'm not into, artisanal bread, but if suddenly I was a baker at one, I would understand if the other bakers were like, "What is this guy who eats Wonder Bread working here? What's the deal?"
Redfield 70, thanks for the super chat. As a reader for over 40 years, it's been frustrating to see the heroes I grew up with get discarded and replaced. I feel same way sometimes, unwanted, unneeded, and a burden to their agenda. Oh no. Um, yeah, and you know what they say about this. I've had conversations with Mark Waid and Dan Slott and these guys, and we're friends. I think me and Dan are definitely friends. I don't know about me and Mark anymore, but and their attitude is, yeah, but this is what we do in comics. I mean, characters die, they get replaced, and then they come back and things are normal again. And I just wonder. I always say to them, like, yeah, but like if you've gone to this great length to replace, say, Iron Man with another character, why would you ever need to bring him back? Like, you know, that's not just a storyline. Like Wally West wasn't just a storyline. That was a permanent replacement at the time for Barry Allen. And sure enough, he was such a good character that he lasted 25 years before Barry Allen came back. And when he did come back, people said, no, bring back Wally.
Why did they replace? Was it? Did they feel like he was like being an old police investigator made him like not identifiable, or what was? Why would you? Why did they want to replace him? I don't understand that.
I'm not exactly sure of why they wanted to replace him. He died in Crisis. He died a hero.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was because the Flash book wasn't selling at the time. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, that's always a good reason to kill off a character and relaunch him. But in any case, Wally West was kind of lined up to be his, his successor, and everyone liked Wally West, and it just seemed like a good thing to do. When I wanted to bring Barry Allen back with Jeff Johns, the answer was he died a hero's death. I mean, nobody's missing him. I mean, he doesn't. So why did we bring Barry Allen back? Well, we brought Barry Allen back because the Flash's sales were faltering, and they couldn't figure out how to, a new way to kind of keep the book afloat. So, bringing back Barry Allen was a big relaunch that set the Flash on his way. And sure enough, I mean, now Flash might be DC's second biggest hero property. I mean, Flash, Batman. So it worked, and those are the reasons why you do things. You make moves, in my opinion, based on what the fans are saying. If the fans are saying we're not interested in this anymore, then you need to shake it up and you need to make them interested. Try to and do a good job about it. You have to kind of keep your ear a little bit. It doesn't mean following every whim that the fans say, but certainly if a book isn't selling, there's a reason, and it's time to reconsider things. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, bad sales are the best reason to change something. Absolutely.
Yeah. Bill Fitch, thank you for the super chat. EVS, your tutorials have greatly improved my art. Huge difference. Hoping to start a comic soon called should I say it? Seven Legions. DNC, your reviews help set goals for each issue, manly ladies and lady men in each. Thank you, Bill. Duke Phi, thank you for the super chat. DNC, your Jack Kirby video was the first I ever saw on your channel. It was so interesting to hear a point of view that humanized the man, who may have had his own faults, while being respectful too.
Yeah, I did a video after seeing Jack Kirby's drawing board, and it actually kind of really bothered me. I'm a big Jack Kirby fan. I didn't get into it until kind of later in life, but one of the things I hate is when people kind of deify people, like they're gods or something like that. He was a very, very interesting but very human person. So he had this kind of disgusting drawing desk in this weird, creepy dungeon, even when he was doing good in California later in life. And it made me think, because he made a lot of bad deals, and he never got super rich like Stan Lee did. And I just felt like there was some kind of aspect about him where he didn't think he deserved it. He had some kind of low self-esteem. He went for the short money and kind of ended up screwing himself over. So I did it about that.
Animation Destination, thank you for the super chat. Hey guys, I started pre-production on some YouTube video reviews thanks to you guys. So big ups and keep it up. Also, if you guys could work on an established book together, what would you want to do?
Oh man. Well, the thing is, I always tell Ethan to write himself because he's got a lot of ideas. He's good with words. I don't understand why he doesn't push himself to write. So I'd rather see him write something for himself.
No, I'm not smart enough. What would I do with you? I would do G.I. Joe with you.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I would draw G.I. Joe, and I'm sure I'd have to fight you for the pencil because you'd want to be drawing G.I. Joe too. And I'm not a G.I. Joe fan, but your enthusiasm and knowledge would push me to learn. And that's kind of what happened with Green Lantern. I didn't know Green Lantern at all, but Jeff Johns did, and so I learned everything I could and tried to do a good job. So
Yeah,
what do you
Larry
think?
Hama had a really good point in an interview he did about G.I. Joe, and they were talking about what's the appeal of G.I. Joe. And he says, well, the appeal of superhero comics is power. You get to do that thing you can't do in real life. But the appeal of G.I. Joe is it's a loyalty fantasy. It's about being in a group of people who will go to the ends of the earth, make sure you're okay to back you up, and vice versa. So that's the core appeal of G.I. Joe.
I like it. I definitely like it, and there are a lot of interesting, colorful characters and vehicles that would be fun to draw. I'd buy all the toys. I'd end up buying all the old toys.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Neenan, thanks for the super chat. Oh my God, so late to this. It's okay. It's all right. You can listen to it again after it's over with, but we appreciate your turning up. We have 1,078 people watching now, which is phenomenal. Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you're listening. Glad that you're listening to this discussion. So after the milkshake incident, which to me is still the strangest thing, I invited Heather Antos on the show. I don't know Heather at all. I've never met her. I don't really know her work, but she has become kind of a big figure in social media when it comes to comics, and I'm very interested in hearing her perspective on this, and also what it's like to be an editor of Star Wars right now at this point. And also, she doesn't like Boba Fett, which blows my mind. I'd love to talk to her about that. And she politely declined. I mean, she seemed very, very classy the way that she did it. She just said, I've been thinking about it, and I just kind of decided that it's not the right thing for me right now. I want to kind of slow down the controversy attached to my name. And it's like, tell me about it, sister. I completely understand. But the milkshake incident launched everything that I think has come afterwards. You seem to have attracted the animus of two big players in comics, Dan Slott and Mark Waid. And I mean, to Dan Slott to a lesser degree, would you agree?
Yeah, Dan Slott thinks I'm evil, but like with a lower case E. Mark Waid literally thinks I'm like Al Qaeda.
Tell me why.
Well, some of the stuff I'm going to be very, very blunt about, and it's some like very basic primal stuff. Mark Waid and Dan Slott are both kind of like little troll men. They have not done good with women. I've kind of done too well. Pay like half my paycheck to child support. So they have weird aspects of how they look at women, where they kind of do that Madonna whore complex. They're always trying to white knight them. They apply two different sets of expectations to basically anyone who's not a white man. I don't have that thing. I've served with every type of minority the earth. I've been married, dated, and all this type of stuff. So when I see a woman, I don't have this different set of principles I judge her on. If I see her unqualified for something, I say, yeah, she does not deserve to get that job. If I see something good, like Gail Simone writing Wonder Woman Conan crossover, I'll turn on a dime. They don't have that. They kind of have like a white knight, kind of like a Arrested Development. You're in second grade, and how do I get a girl? Like, I'll rescue her from a bully, and then she'll love me, type of thing. Also, I just think they're kind of bored.
They're bored.
Yeah.
So they've chosen. Let's talk about Mark Waid. So after the milkshake incident, Mark Waid issues a very strange Facebook message, and basically, I can't remember what was was it New York City Comic Con this past October, or was it Baltimore? It was one of those two shows.
There was two cons within like 2 or 3 weeks of each other, and I had talked about maybe going to Baltimore, and then I saw the train prices. I was like, I'm not paying $180 round trip. I'm going to New York Comic Con in 2 or 3 weeks. It's like I can walk there. So I told people I'm not going. But then the grapevine told him that I was going. So then he issued this really strange missive. It was like very long, and it's like, if you see him, stop me. No matter if I'm in a panel, no matter what I'm doing. And he gave this weird thing where he's like, but I need to make sure it's him because if it's not him, it's going to go really bad for whoever it is. It sounds to me like obviously a threat. And it was just really weird because they keep doing this thing like they can't just email me or hit me up on Twitter or hit me up anywhere and say, hey, what's up? Why are you doing X, Y, and Z? So it looks like a big virtue signal. Also, it was just very unhinged behavior for like a 55-year-old man. So I just hit him up and I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm right here. You can DM me. What's up? And then it became he kind of like backpedaled. He had a fantasy. He's had a couple things where he's confronted people at conventions. So he had a fairly well-trodden fantasy about humiliating me and getting me kicked out, and then everyone would clap. And it didn't exactly happen. He wasn't able to, wasn't going to Baltimore. He wasn't going to New York. So we didn't meet. We ended up having a really fruitless phone conversation, which was supposed to be kind of like our beer summit. And then he's just kind of been spurging out about me, spreading defamatory rumors that I'm sending direct threats to the milkshake girls. And it's gone on till, pretty much this day, a couple months later.
So, I mean, all of this is really interesting. What it all comes down to is that this is all happening because of the reviews that you are issuing on YouTube to a very large audience that seem to be highly critical of people's comics. Now, you have reviewed one of my comics, and you were not kind.
Really?
I still have not forgiven you.
I thought it was okay on that one. It's been a while. It was the Green Lantern one with Sam Humphries, right?
That's correct. Yeah. You ripped it up.
No, I didn't.
I think you did. No, seriously. So this is the thing. So you're giving these reviews, and I think when you're on YouTube, I think it's more fun to watch people roasting, and roasting is a great word. I mean, roasting has come back into the lexicon. It used to be commonly used in the 1970s, but now it's like roasting is a very nice way to say that you're kind of taking someone's work and you're criticizing it harshly, and that's no fun. I mean, I've had to when I criticized Vox Day's book, I had the artist come at me and just say, you were wrong about why were you so mean? And I just listen, like, it sucks to get a bad review. I understand that. It really sucks, and this is why I don't do reviews, because if you're going to be honest and you're going to have integrity about what you're saying, you're going to hurt someone's feelings potentially, and that's just it's a big responsibility. It's not something, fortunately, that I have to do. You are that guy now. You are the guy who has thousands, tens of thousands of people who are coming to you to be entertained by your thoughts and also instructed by your thoughts about modern comic books. And you need to be honest with those people. So when you do you think that you're more tempted to buy bad books so that you can deliberately give bad reviews that are more entertaining to people? What's your process like when you go to the comic book store looking for books to review?
Oh yeah, so it's definitely more fun to get a really bad comic. I get so excited about roasting it. But one thing I have a difference of opinion on is that to me, roasting is supposed to be convivial. The roast, back with Dean Martin, those people were all friends. That was the weirdest thing about the Comedy Central roast from like the last couple of years, is that they'll say, I've never met you, but I've heard this about you. I'm like, that's not a roast. You're just insulting a stranger. But the thing is, even if I've never met these people, I've read their social media for 5 years. I've read Mark Waid comics, and I've read about his industry shenanigans since like the late 80s. I mean, I kind of know this one, but as we saw with Chip Zdarsky, there's really not a lot of hate. It's just more like, can you stop calling us Nazis? We're willing to turn on a dime. I don't think there's anything where I couldn't have a beer summit with any of these people if they would just kind of unclench and realize I'm not a demon.
Yeah, isn't that true? You know what it is? It's I think politics have become so pervasive and poisonous. I always say poisonous. I see people as having been poisoned.
Oh yeah.
People that I used to interact with, very very nicely, and they knew that I was a Republican, and it didn't really matter. Now, and so it's been the last 2 years or so. Um, it's very strange. It's a much different kind of look that I get from people, and I just look at them and I just kind of go, "You've been poisoned too. I mean, you're full of hatred. I'm just a person, just like you. We disagree about something that just doesn't need to enter into our daily lives, and for that, you feel like you're just like bubbling over with hatred, and there's like white spit in the corner of your mouth when you're talking to me, and your eyes are wide. You've been poisoned, and I was poisoned too. I mean, this is the thing. During Obama, his presidency, I felt anger, and I felt just that same kind of poisoned, like outrage all the time. And I feel like letting that go a little bit has been extremely healthy for me and good for my sense of humor. And it's like I want to encourage other people to just let go of that poison. Realize you've been poisoned by your television and let go of it and get
Oh
back
yeah.
to
I've
comics.
literally seen, in real life at like coworkers, they'll start talking about politics and they're kind of, they're the side who's didn't like the results. And you start seeing them get like dyspeptic. I'm like, and I'm just thinking, nobody brought the subject up. You're literally making yourself sick in the middle of the workday for no reason. And everyone else is kind of like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. They're not really trying to encourage it. And then you see the guy sit and just kind of have like literally like an upset stomach because he made himself crazy over something.
That's so weird. Hey, so some more super chats. My Forick, thank you for Ava's diaper fund, not the Ferengi fund. Okay. Thank you. Ava needs diapers all the time. Jacobra, thank you for the super chat. Zach's review of Dawnbreaker was critical of the writing, not the art. You're in the clear there. Keep up the
Oh
awesome
yeah,
work.
yeah. I did rip that one, didn't I?
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, I have to take blame for the writing. I was given a very loose outline by Sam Humphries. It was done in Marvel style, which means that there's a plot, and from the plot, I kind of write it as I draw it, and then it's given to him, and he fills in the word balloons. So if the writing is bad, I got to take at least 50% of the blame for bad writing on that book. Having said that, it sold extremely effing well, so people liked it. Um, Lemmer Cage, thank you for the super chat. Thank you guys for your channels. Got back into comics several months ago due to you guys. Bit of a dent in my budget, but very worth it to support my local comic shops. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Lemur Cage. Thank you for supporting your local comic shop. I mean, I want you guys. I mean, seriously, if there's anything that you get from my channel, and I think even from Zach's channel, I want you to adopt your local comic shop.
Yep.
Um, I want you to feel comfortable there. I want you to go in there and feel like it's part of your duty as a comic book fan to go in there and buy your comics directly from your local comic shop and speak to your comic shop owner and tell him what you like and what you don't like, what he doesn't have stock that you would like to buy, all of that. Participate, get involved in comics in a real substantive way, in a way that supports the industry. And this is, when we were talking to Vox Day the other day, one of the things that, one of my biggest complaints with him, he says his comics are going to change the world and they're going to sell 1 million copies. Good, you need to solicit them through Diamond so that if they do sell 1 million copies, retailers can share in that profit and success. And
Yep. Yep.
if you're not doing that, you are not a comic book fan, and you're not supportive of this industry that we all love so much. So you did have a nice conversation with Mark Waid on the telephone. It didn't go well. And do you still feel? Here's an interesting question for you, and I want you to be honest about this, Zach. Do you feel safe going to a convention?
Yeah, I went to the New York Comic Con and I had several law enforcement telling, like they're like, "Hey, dude, it's risk versus reward. Just don't go." I had ex-law enforcement say, "Hey, I'll go with you just to watch your back." Um, I did feel that I was getting some stink eyes, but I didn't feel like physically unsafe. It's just kind of, I mean, honestly, it is a little sad. Like, I'm there with Larry Hama, and he thinks like I'm a KKK guy. Like, my daughter wears a hijab, like freaking, like I'm the least KKK person ever. But these kind of like socially awkward weirdos in the industry had to spread all these scurrilous rumors about me because they didn't like me saying, "Hey, your comics aren't good. Hey, you need to stop this. You need to stop calling your customers Nazis. You need to stop deciding that you could take all of the femininity out of a character and not have it just skeeve out 99% of humanity." But no, I'm not physically worried about any of these people.
You feel comfortable going to uh, your local comic shop? You feel comfortable? You go to any convention anywhere and just walk around and feel like you were okay. You don't feel threatened because you have every reason to feel threatened, and I wouldn't blame you if you did. I know you're, military. You can take care of yourself, but uh, the thing about, and I'm a big guy too. The thing about it is I don't know where it's coming from. When people know who you are and you don't know who they are, it's a dangerous situation. So, but you're saying you're cool. You're not worried about it.
No, no. Even with the B. Clay Moore thing, it was more the audacity that they thought they could be successful at it. It's like in Harvey Keitel in Reservoir Dogs, where he says, "You hit me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize." It's like, you really thought that was going to work? I'm insulted on that level that you thought that plan was going to work.
What bothered me about that post was just that it was so obvious that like it clearly bothered them so much. Like you bother them so much that they sit there and fantasize about ways to hurt you. Um, that blew my mind. I don't. I'm trying to think if I have fantasies of hurting anyone for the
Yeah,
things that they say. I don't think that I do. Um, my fantasies are that they fail.
yeah,
It's like I hope they fail at everything that they do, but in no way do I want to punch someone or see someone get hurt or anything like that. And I'm always kind of surprised that there are these these fantasies of violence. I'm going to punch you in the face. I want to see you get hurt. I'm going to laugh when you fall down a flight of stairs. Very, very strange. Hell, thank you for the super chat. Buy yourself something pretty. I will. The Vile Delinquent, thank you for the super chat. I sent you a super chat. Does that mean you will now do the art for my indie comic, Ethan? Seriously, can you teach us how to draw men and women? I would do the art for your indie comic for much, much, much more money for that than that. And I would need to not be exclusive to DC Comics, which I am. So I'm afraid I can't. And can I teach you how to draw men and women? Sure. We'll get around to it. I plan to be here for a while, guys. We're gonna be doing a lot of different little art lessons. My channel's gonna go through a lot of phases. Right now, I'm gender reassigning a lot of female characters for my own amusement and yours. But we will get back to art lessons when I feel like that's run its course. So Richard, you have uh, a rogues gallery at this point
yeah.
of people in comics who recur in your videos. Do you have a favorite rogue that whose work that you are not crazy about, but they still have a place in your heart? Like um, one of these people who you actually kind of enjoy roasting their work because it amuses you, the
Oh my
qualities
God.
of it.
It's this guy named Kwanzaa. It's Kwanzaa or Kwanzaa. I think it is. I think Kwanzaa is his Twitter name. I get so much entertainment value, and he used to go back and forth with me. I miss this guy so much. His art or his writing is pretty bad, but he kind of has this like persona that's kind of. I almost feel like I always talk about this in the 80s and 90s. Every sitcom main character would have like an enemy. It wasn't like they were trying to kill each other, but they were always kind of like roasting the hell out of each other. So yeah, definitely Kwanzaa Osage Yefo. He's my My
What's
favorite.
his last name? How do you pronounce that?
You pronounce it Johnson. That is the last name. It's like his stage name.
Oh,
Uh, Osad Yefo, I think it is.
I've seen a couple of his tweets, and I noticed his last name, and I went, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but yeah, I've seen your videos about Kwanzaa, and it seems like you guys do have a good rapport. I don't think he like you're seeing what he's writing to you humorously, and I don't think he feels the same way. I think that he's like insulted by the fact that you're not taking him seriously, but he does seem like a lot of fun. By the way, his book is beautifully drawn. The video that you one of the videos that you did that I saw, I guess his book is called Black.
Yeah.
Um, Beautifully drawn. I don't know who the artist is that's doing that, but it's like that's some mainstream kind of hot artwork. What do you think? Am I wrong?
It was okay. It's serviceable. It was Jamal Igo and many hands, as they used to say back in the day, when you kind of have a bunch of people do different parts of it. It was fine.
Mhm.
It definitely needed to be colored. It was very weird because it's very obviously mainstream superhero style art, and then it's just black and white inexplicably.
What is your goal at this point? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, I've got a regular career, so I want to keep doing good in that, and like a regular family life. In comics, I want to have all of my books come out, and I want to basically put my money where my mouth is and have some kind of actual success.
In comics,
Yeah.
like through publishing, because frankly, you've had tremendous success already within comics. Bleeding Cool did a top 100 most powerful people in comics. By the way, I am not on that list.
Really?
You, of course not. You are number 84. 84. And you've only been doing this since April, but whether people agree with you or not, what you are saying resonates with them in a way. I mean, there are lots of these YouTube channels that critique comics, and some of them are cruel, some of them are vulgar, some of them are really witty and funny, and some of them are really profound. Yours manages to kind of be all of those in equal parts, but more profound. Your ideas, I'm not sure where they come from, but I find myself often agreeing with you and nodding my head and going, "Yeah, I never noticed that before, but boy, isn't that true?" And I guess I'm doing that with about 53,000 other people who watch your channel religiously. Um, I will say, I consider you a friend, and I'm uh, beyond that grateful for the lessons that I got from your channel about how to treat my fans. Um, uh, the way that you spoke about our obligations as professionals to our fans, which are customers. You just started making this point that fans need to start calling themselves customers and not just fans.
Yeah.
Um, it changed the way I look at everything that I do, and because of that, because of those videos, I have welcomed um, my fans back closer to me than I think I ever did before, and met a lot of new fans, and hopefully gained a lot of new fans. My YouTube channel certainly does help, um, but all of that and all of my new perspective comes from you. So thank you for the work that you do. Um, I know that there are going to be some people who hear me say that who just are infuriated because they see you as a monster. I don't. I see you as somebody who I see you as a regular guy who has some really good ideas about what's going wrong with this industry that we all presumably love equally, and some ideas for how to fix it. And I think that you are very, very important and might actually be in the top 10 most important people in comics right now.
I just gotta say that your profile pic on this thing, it's been driving me insane that he doesn't have a nostril.
I was thinking the same thing the whole time as well. I never look at that very close.
He does. Why does he not have a nostril?
See the little brown kind of shadow underneath his nose? Like that should be darker. That should be darker. But yeah, he doesn't have a nostril, and the side of his nose isn't completely drawn in, and I don't know who to blame. I feel some anger about it.
It's been driving
I'm going to open up for questions now from this incredible mob of people that we have. Let me hit these super chats real quick. Dream Mirror Brony, thank you for the super chat. I'd given up on comics until DNC came onto the scene last year. Your fans appreciate all your hard work and effort to bring Marvel back around. Cool. Ban Anime, thank you for the super chat. Based Uncle Ethan and Captain Cough Zach will save comics. Keep up great work in memes. Nerve Clacks, thank you for the super chat. EVS, will you do a Boko New Pico drawing tutorial? I'm old. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm really sorry. And Octi, thank you for the super chat. Best crossover episode since Different Strokes went to the set of Knight Rider. Nice. Andrew Gollum, thank you for the super chat. I would give more, but alas, I'm a damned Gollum. Fair enough. Yeah, you guys are very generous. Cecil, another super chat. I truly feel that Zach had a hand in getting America and Iceman canceled. How does he sleep at night? He's a big fan of both, allegedly. Casca52, thank you for the super chat. Way to ruin a moment, Zach. You have to understand, he is not going to take that kind of sincerity. He's a man. He's not going to. But I feel like it needs to be said.
It's funny. When I was sick and I couldn't go to Ethan's wedding, I started kind of profusely apologizing, and he was basically like, "I'm a guy. It's fine."
It's like if you were there, that'd be cool. We get some drinks, but I'll catch you later.
Walking on the beach and just mournfully staring at the waves.
Where's Richard? Yeah. Tyler, thanks for the super chat. DNC, what is the status with Berserk? It's an incredible story with museum quality art. Based on your previous reviews, I feel you'll absolutely love it.
That's a manga that somebody gave me a super chat to review, and then I kind of stalled on it, and then I saw the art, and I'm like, so I definitely got to get to it, but it doesn't look like my thing.
Vile Delinquent, thank you for the super chat. Besides Ethan, who would each of you say is the best comic artist in the world? Jay Lee, Mark Keown, I think you mean Dale Keown. Is there a Mark Keown? Masahiro Ito, Yashihiro Naitao, someone else?
Of that group, I put Dale Keown as. I love his stuff. Absolutely love it.
He is so cool. I love Dale Keown too. I like that he just, he does what he wants to do. He's mostly a musician. He'll draw when he feels like it. I admire that. I don't know. Out of that group, I'd say Dale too, but my favorite artist of all time is Brian Boland. I think it's just magnificent. Okay, so we are going to take questions now. I scrolled all the way down to the bottom, so I skipped everything up until now. So if you guys want to ask DNC or me some questions, that will be fine. Super chats will get read first. Number one Marmaduke fan, thank you for the super chat. I drew Little Orphan Annie as Bruce Wayne's grandma while listening. Well, you're going to have to post that on Twitter for everyone to enjoy. That would be great. Let's see here. Zach, any tips on how to get an imprint publishing company up and running?
Oh my gosh, I've never really done that. I've just done little self-publishing. I'd say talk to Peter Samedi. He's cracked the code on how to start and have your own niche and have these really cool affordable comics. I'm kind of just amazed by Peter Samedi.
DNC, do you really enjoy Kwanzaa comics better than Gabby Rivers books? That's premium roast right there.
Oh, that's a good one. See, the deal about Gabby is that I feel like me and Kwanzaa could be buddies. I think Gabby has some weird like we could never be friends. She would never like be able to just chill. You know what I mean? Although they are, you're right, they are more entertainingly bad. Actually, Quanzers can be a little just boring, but then like weirdly bad.
Um, I'd like to hang out with Gabby. I think she'd be fun. Let's see. Vedant Singh, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Ethan. Can you ask DNC where he dislikes digital coloring, and also add Utica thoughts on it in detail if possible? I think he means my own thoughts on it. Why don't you like digital coloring?
I mean, I like it if it's done with high contrast, but I don't like it when it gets muddy or it's kind of overdone and everything looks plasticky.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really, really good digital colorists out there. I'm working with one right now. Jason Wright is coloring my work on Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh yeah, he's good, real good.
Yeah, he's superior. I stole him off of Brad Walker. He was coloring Brad, and I was just like, I'm stealing your colorist, and he's been working with me since. Before that, Moose Bauman, who was absolutely godly, but he no longer works in comics. Nostalgia and criticism. Thanks for the super chat. How do you guys feel about this year for comics? What do you want to see come back? What do you want to see changed? Ethan, I'm sad I never got my Power Girl drawing. Nostalgia, I've still got all those drawings here. I will send them out. I'm going to send everything out this week. It's all going to go. I've just been too busy. Too busy. What do you want to see?
I mean, I really wanted to see Captain America come back as just a basic action hero, but it looks like that's already getting screwed up, and he's going to the future, and he's a king. Um, I, Phoenix Resurrection makes it look like they're just going to bring back like X-Men is just like a normal superhero team, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm also really excited about Grand Design by Ed Piskor. Just seeing more of him tie like the entire history of X-Men together into one like really well done saga.
Hot Pink Geek, thanks for the super chat. DNC, do a harem streak. Us girls and you.
It sounds so inappropriate. I'm really, really old.
Oh wow, King and the Clown, thanks for the super chat. EVS, thoughts on the recent Stan Lee controversy? Uh, yeah, okay. Well, I'll tell you the truth about how I feel about it. I believe the accusations are true, and I know that's going to upset people. I have some inside information, and I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that society has changed a lot in recent years from when Stan Lee was a young man, and he is also old. And I think that bringing these accusations of him kind of being super flirty, maybe a little touchy sometimes, to light now when he's 95 years old and his wife has just died, and he's going to leave us soon. I think it's a shame. I think it's awful. I think we are going to all have to decide how each of us are going to remember Stan Lee, and I will not remember him that way. I will remember him as the man who wrote the Fantastic Four books that I love so, so much, and that's the truth about it. And I'm sorry if that bothers anyone, but that is how I feel. Uh, Camembert, oh, what a great witty name! Thank you for the super chat. Does Zach think Chip Zdarsky can keep up his good run on Spider-Man, or fall back to his old style?
Yeah, I think he can keep it up. He's done it for like 4 issues or 3 issues of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, and did Marvel 2-in-1. He had some good deep moments. I think he literally saw the industry where it was going, and he said, "Oh, I'm 40 something. I actually want to have a career. This isn't a goof anymore. I'm serious about this." So I think he can continue it indefinitely.
Jeff Myers, thank you for the super chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped are each of you for the Black Panther movie next month? Super hyped here.
10.
Uh, 10, yeah. I have to say, well, I'm more like a 7, but that's a lot for me because I don't really go see superhero movies that much, believe it or not, because it's my life. But yeah, that trailer looked really, really cool. Really cool. Paul Dozer, thanks for the super chat. No question, huh? Um, Mariah, thanks for the super chat. Do you think politics is the new mainstream religion and political extremists are the new religious fanatics?
It's a pretty good theory.
Yeah. It's hard to get that worked up about something unless you really believe it in that kind of a religious sort of way. To get angry at other people, to be hateful of people who believe different things than you. There's something cultist about it. There's something kind of extremist and creepy. Emily, thank you for the super chat. Zach, the people have spoken. You need to read the manga pronounced manga, Berserk and Boku no Hero Academia.
I gotta read Berserk because someone gave me a super chat and I promise, but I don't really like this stuff. I can't commit to that one. The second one.
I'm better you than me. El Tigre Azul, thank you for the super chat. Ask Zach if he knows where Dre is.
He's on a building like 8 blocks away, but somehow you can still see him.
Let's see. Oh, the people are saying Stan Lee didn't do nothing. Stan Lee is comic books. Yeah. The SJWs got Stan Lee. They sure did, didn't they? Nasser13, super chat. Thank you. Need to find an artist for my comic. Any help? Anybody who is an artist who is interested in working with an up-and-coming young writer, Nasser13 is looking for an artist, so hit him up. Let's see. Derek Peterson, is that Dre? Thank you for the super chat. Parsival 15 super chat, funny but inappropriate comment. Okay, we'll insert one for you. And okay, we're all caught up. Let's start asking some questions here. Oof. This is what it's like to be you, I think. I've never had this many people in a chat before. There's a lot of variety. EVS, favorite Fantastic Four story? And the answer is yes, Richard. Yes, to your message. Favorite Fantastic Four story? Let's see. I like the first appearance of the super. Shoot, why can't I remember his name now? Who are the green? What are the green alien race with the funny chins? Super Skrull. It's getting late. I'm tired, and I know you're tired too, Richard. We'll do 2 more questions, and then we're calling it a night. And thank you for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. What do we think of the Swamp Thing winter special coming up?
Yeah, it looks good to me. Kelly Jones and Jason Fabok and Scott Snyder and Len Wein. That's a good team.
Yeah. Jason Fabok alone is just perfect for that. And it's something you really want to do. Emily, thank you for the super chat. You should both read Boku no Hero Academia. Oh, you're like an advocate for this. It's the best new superhero content of the last 5 years. Western comic creators should take note. Okay, this is the last question. James Dietrich, EVS, Zach, you guys are single and recently married. What is your favorite bachelor thing to cook?
Anything you can eat over the sink.
Ooh, yeah. For me, it's cheesesteaks, but I can't eat them right now because I'm trying to lose weight. But I like to just, yeah, they're easy to make and they're great. And I like to make those cheesesteaks. I'm from Philly. What can I tell you? Hey, guys, thank you so much. Evan Lortz, thanks for the super chat. Will Bendis find a way? And DC and Return to Glory? Yes, you will. Thanks, everyone, for turning up. Thank you for all the super chats. I hope you enjoyed this. It was fun for me. What'd you think, Zach?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Cool. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. Thanks, guys. Good night to you all, and we'll be seeing you separately on our own channels forever. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.